Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Collaboration. Let's talk pucks. Final word on hockey, spitball and sports, the podcast. You know us, Jim Biringer, John Restaino, bringing you all the hockey action you need. It's been a crazy offseason. It's been slow. Everything's crammed into a couple of weeks, 1 week, couple of days. But a lot of stuff's getting done. We got to unpack it all. And as the title of the episode says, the hockey world is Toronto, because that's where we have to begin. But John, how's your summer going? How's everything going, buddy?
Going good. It's over now. Now I'm done with summer. So we're back. We're right in. Got about less than a month to training camp. So that's it, man. It's summer's done.
Yo, summer is over. Hockey season is here. The weather, if you noticed it, it's a little breezier. It's a little nicer, even though it's going to be 90 next week. It's football weather. It's hockey weather. It's time to go. And let's just go, because I think that's where we need to go. Toronto, center of the hockey universe as always, though. As I spoke with other people on other shows that I do, Montreal people and fans are going to debate that. However, last week and this week, Toronto takes center stage. Austin Matthews signs a new 4-year deal, $13.25 million. We talked about it numerous times, numerous places. He was going to be the highest paid player. Didn't matter how much, whatever. And then Sheldon Keefe gets a 2-year contract extension by Brad Treliving. I think it's a smart move, but I want to get your thoughts on this extension for both guys.
Matthews, I think happily for me, we've talked about this so many times. It was how much higher was he going to go than McKinnon? That was a big deal. And I think 13.2 at the 4 years. And of course it's the fifth, he's got 5 years left. So I think he could have asked for anything. He really had them by the, and he could have asked for anything he wanted. And they would have had to give it to him. So I give him credit on this one. I think Matthews took less than he could have from the Leafs, because he had the Leafs. Not that he could have done that anywhere else, but he just had the Leafs by the throat. So the 4 years make it the fifth year because of this year. You got him till he's 31. I don't see a problem with it, Jim.
No.
I was pretty happy for it.
No, I don't have a problem with it either, because if you get him at 8 years, that cap hits $15 million.
Yes.
And speaking with like a couple of people, you think about it, 4 years from now, what's the direction of the team? Who's the coach? Yeah. Is there turnover? Are they going to rebuild? Are they retooling? Like, it's good for the player and it's good for the team, because I've talked about, I think Matthews is going to hit it big again. And when the salary cap goes up, he hits it big again. It's not like he needs the money. He's already financially set. Yeah. But still, he hits it big 3 times. Like, he hits it big twice when the cap goes up, but he's hit it big 3 times now. How many NHL players could say they've hit it big 3 times on their contract? Most guys have taken, okay, come out of entry level, we'll get that 8-year deal, fixed rate, whatever. This cat, he's a different kind of cat, man. Comes from Arizona. I know that, but the business, he gets it. He understands how to maximize his value. And again, we've seen some of these 8-year deals. The back end hasn't been great. Every contract's front loaded, but think about it. He's at 30, 31. Team's gonna, Now you got to trade a player. He's got all this no trade protection, this and that. Gets difficult, and who would want to take on a $15 million contract? But again, economics would say, hey, the cap's going up.
Yeah, and he stands to be the highest, he's going to break Matt Sundin's record. He'll end up being the leading goal scorer in Maple Leaf history. So I don't know, man. It just seemed like perfect. I know he wanted 3 years. This is what they say. You probably know better than me. Matthews wanted 3, they wanted 5, and they met in the middle of the 4.
I heard he wanted 4. I heard this was the number he wanted the whole time. He wanted a mid-range deal.
4 is, I got to tell you, a lot of people, Toronto media, you know them people. You actually know them. I know them just from listening.
Right.
And some of it is insanity. Nick Kiprios, some of these guys, I cannot find a reason why I should be upset with this deal. Because I think it gives the Leafs the mobility, the ability to maybe try to put stuff around them. do whatever they got to do, because really he could have took 14, could have been 14.2, could have been 15, like you said. So I didn't see the problem. I can't find one. So I'm pretty happy with it. The media's crazy though, as you know, more
Yeah,
than
I do know, but I mean, talking with two guys, cheap plug here for one of the other shows I do, Full Press NHL podcast. Go check out Ken Campbell. I know a lot of people disagree with him and things. Go check out what I just had David Alter on. These guys, these cats came with reasonable arguments that the contract's good, both sides of the table. Like Toronto, from Toronto side, it's good for Toronto because is the direction in 4 years? For the player side, the player's been there 12 years.
Wow.
He's going to be there 12 years. And it's interesting because, yes, the playoffs and everybody talks about it, but both brought up is put up or shut up time now for Matthews. Look, he has great first rounds, and everybody agrees the Leafs just mailed it in, but they say it's now time. If you're going to get paid like that, it's time for you to put this team on your back in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did it one game it was game 4 against Tampa. I mean, it was basically, he's the reason they went to overtime and won. I also think the injury history is the only thing, the tiny bit, but it wouldn't make me say don't sign him to the deal, whatever. That wrist thing is sometimes interesting to me because it seemed like it bothered him all year. I think it bothered him after the Stamkos nonsense when they got into it a little bit, and things didn't ever look the same to me for his hand. But I don't know. I mean, you're right though. It's put up or shut up time, and it's going to be for the others too, Marner and pending what Nylander does.
Yeah, and look, Nylander's an interesting case. It was funny, I was talking with Ken Campbell, and I've been on the record, and I brought this up to David Alter and other people I've talked to. I said the minute the Tavares signing happened, I was not a fan of it. I said the $11 million. I know Alter even said you could point to the cap it, but I was like, look, I just think it threw a wrench into what this team was doing. Yes, I understand they needed another center, but they needed defense and goaltending. That was the issue for this team. And that brings us to Sheldon Keefe and I think this is what Brad Treliving, I guess, noticed from the outside. And maybe because I've seen it too much and I have to be on Toronto radio, but I've also noticed it too. The defense has gotten better. Yeah. And it's not on the defense and the goaltending anymore. It's on the guys up front. And I think that's a big reason why Brad Treliving re-signed and extended Sheldon Keefe, because he said it in his presser. He was very impressed with what Sheldon Keefe did with this Leafs team defensively.
Yeah, he made Matthews and Marner play the whole ice. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he can do with Max Domi if he can get him to play the whole ice.
I think he will, because I think Max Domi's going to thrive in Toronto.
He wants it. Yeah.
He wants it. I mean, look what he did in Montreal. He exploded.
Yeah, he loves the original six. And I also think that Treliving, I think about it all the time. He came in there in such a weird way. Right. So he had no time to do much of anything. Sheldon Keefe, you know what I don't like about him, and this is just way off, maybe a little bit off target, but whatever. Playoff time, he drives me nuts because he won't set a lineup. Other than that, in the regular season, there's no one better, right? I mean, right.
Well, I think he's going to have that help now with like guys like Guy Boucher on the bench, because Guy Boucher took the Tampa Bay Lightning to the conference final in 2011. So he knows what it takes, and you're going to have to set a lineup, and you're going to have to keep that lineup. Like, he's going to have guys now in there that are going to help him out. And the additions, again, everybody said Bertuzzi and Domi been great. All agree Reeves will not see the end of this deal. I'm just saying that right now. We both agree on that. But look, and a lot of guys are bringing this up too. If you move Sheldon Keefe, who's out there? Who's better? Who you bringing in? Yeah. Maybe you stick with the guy you know.
I wonder how much the players must like him. I'm going to assume because, all of them. I mean, I listened to Matthews the other day talking about the meeting he had when Treliving came down to Arizona. They had they were talking about life. They were doing everything, So I'm sure the coach came up. Yeah, you know what Tree Living did too the other day, and I'm forgetting his name, Jim. You'll remember. He brought the guy in, big guy from Anaheim, defenseman.
Oh, Klingberg.
No, not Klingberg. This other guy, the tough guy. He played
Oh,
78 games for the
Samuel
Ducks.
Benoit.
Yeah, him. He brings it. You know, the thing I like about that, he's acknowledging what the issue is. Dubas never would. And one last thing on that, I I like that the players Dubas brings in toughness at the deadline, and they never seem to gel. Maybe this time you have them already. You already have Bertuzzi, you already have Domi, and they can possibly not have to like just step in and run in like April.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I like the Bertuzzi signing. We'll see what happens if he gets an extension. Same with Domi. Again, if Bertuzzi plays the way he played in Boston and he doesn't get hurt and he isn't injury prone, could be a replacement for Nylander. Again, Nylander's talked about, and it was funny because he had the relaxed attitude of like, look, I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, I'm a year away. We all know what his history was with Kyle Dubas and this team. He didn't sign he held out. He didn't sign till like December of 2018. You know what he's going to ask for. He's asking for $10 million. But they're taking a wait and see approach with him, right? Brad Treliving now can just sit back, relax, and see what he's got before he has to like extend Nylander for no reason. Like if Nylander goes out and does what he did last year, all right, you're a $10 million player. I can't deny you that. Again, all of a sudden, like we live in this world of, okay, well, you have to extend the guy now or you have to trade him because of his value. You know, years ago, guys went to free agency. They either signed or they didn't. Like, would it suck to lose him for nothing? Yeah, it would. But you know what? That's a gamble this team's going to have to take because as much as he wants to be in Toronto, unless that cap goes up, he ain't getting $10 million.
Yeah, he has to take less to stay in Toronto just so they can win. And and in a couple of years, we forget Tavares will be gone. So that's 11 or whatever it is.
And if he thinks he's staying and he thinks he's going to get some money, he better be taking like a discount. I'm not saying like Patrice Bergeron style, but he's going to have to slash that in like 3/4.
Oh, yeah.
If he wants to stay.
Yeah. He'll have to be at $4 million or something because, he's not
right. $11 million player anymore.
No, you said it right off the top. I mean, and I'm going to ask you a question later about Stamkos, but I look at the both of them. They both, they have 80 points, whatever they do. There's a difference between the two. And I don't know what it is if it's Stamkos has an edge to him. Tavares seems like he doesn't have that. It's weird, right? But you were right off the bat, and I felt it too. Tavares they didn't really need it. They could have found a center.
They had it. And we've documented it here too. And I've stated this too. I think Nazem Kadri is still a Toronto Maple Leaf if he doesn't have that suspension problem.
Definitely. No doubt. And I wish he was still a Maple Leaf sometimes. It's unfortunate what happened there. I mean, and you're right. I mean, they had it. They wouldn't have even needed Tavares. And that's been an albatross, man.
And it's really funny because, go back. I got to find the clip. Maybe I'll put it out. Ken Campbell said it when they signed him that they weren't going to win a playoff series. They've won one.
Wow. That's something. Wow.
Right? And he was laughed at. He said he was laughed at by guys. They're like, the Leafs are going to win a playoff. The Leafs won their first playoff series 2023. When was he signed? 2018, something like that?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That goes to the whatever it is, man. There's something about Tavares who I think we know how good he is.
He's a great player. He's a great player. No doubt. He's a great player.
There's something that's just missing. And I try to compare him to Stamkos. When I watched Stamkos punch Matthews in the face when Matthews is holding all the sticks in whatever game that was, Tavares doesn't do that kind of stuff, He's just not dirt. He's not that kind of – sometimes you need it.
Right, exactly. You do. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, what Nylander does. Again, he's saying all the right things. He wants to play hockey. He wants to help the Toronto Maple Leafs win. And this guy comes up as a playoff performer, man. This guy shows up in the playoffs, and that's what they need. I mean, Nylander you want to talk about all this other stuff, contract issue. You know what? The guy has every right to do this because he's the only guy that shows up in the playoffs.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, the worst of all of the group is Marner. He's had such a hard time in the playoffs.
And
Uh,
maybe unfairly, but again, it's that's the price you got to pay when you're making the money you're making.
yeah, I think Nylander, um, he would. I think he stays if it's 9.5. I think he
He's here.
stays. He's here now. They probably
Yeah.
do it. So,
But
he-
I think they're gonna take a wait and see approach with
yeah,
it. I think they don't have to rush into it. Tree Living can finally see what he's got. He doesn't have to be rushing to Sweden, Arizona, wherever to go talk to these guys. They can go in a training camp. Remember, this team still has to cut players to get under
yep,
the salary cap.
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of work for him to do, and they're lucky they got that Pridham guy who's pretty good with the cap because they got a lot of stuff to do. And he knows their defense is not ready to win a playoff round right now. So
No,
something more has to happen for
it
him.
does.
You
It
know,
does. And again, the Leafs are the center of the hockey universe. And again, it was quiet up there about Nylander. And I think fans even realized it's like, all right, why do we have to why do we really have to care about it right now? Because we know who William Nylander is. We saw what it was last time. The priority was Matthews. Everybody knows it. And he's a and I think you can agree, he's a cut above the rest of the core four. Like, let's be honest. He's the first true superstar that Toronto Maple Leafs have had in a really long time.
yeah, for one that they brought in they drafted themselves. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. It goes way back to Wendell Clark, possibly. I mean, that they didn't bring in or buy.
Right.
So, and he is above that. I mean, he's in the top 5 in the league. I mean, the only thing that holds him back is playoffs. If he were to have, I mean, you put him right there with McKinnon and all that. So yeah, he's above them, and that's why Nylander shouldn't compare himself to him. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, look, but again, Marner got 11 what something
Yeah,
when Matthews got re-signed. So it's like, all right, like all these guys want this money, but is it better to take less money to win or all the money and not win and put a team around it? And again, economics, no one look, when Matthews signed that first deal and all these guys signed their deal, everybody expected the cap to go up. Nobody expected to see the pandemic or the economic crisis they were in. But again, until it goes up, I'll believe it. That's when I'll believe it. Because there's all this talk, oh yeah, it's gonna jump, all this stuff. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. They said it was supposed to jump 2 million this summer. It didn't.
didn't. And I don't understand. I just saw they inked another deal with like Disney or something for 100+ games, to be telecast. It has to happen, or else I don't know. I don't know I don't know what the players would think. I mean, if it does not go up.
Well, I know the big thing was that when McKinnon signed his deal, the PA wanted to see him get an ink go above McKinnon, even though there was talk and be like McDavid, even though there was talk around the league, like how can you pay McKinnon more than McDavid? McDavid's the best player in the world. It's like the PA wants to see growth on the player's salary, hence why Matthews gets what he gets.
Yeah, it's like the NFL, right? Every quarterback that comes up ends up the highest paid quarterback ever.
Right, exactly.
Kind of similar.
Right. And Matthews now, and then a couple of years, even somebody asked him about it. It's like McDavid's like, why? I got 3 years left on my current deal. Like, why are you asking me about this now? Like, I want to win. Like, I don't care about it. We'll see what happens in 3 years. And he's right. Let me see what happens in 3 years. We know he'll probably be the highest paid player in the league when it happens. And then Matthews will jump him again and whatever. But again, we know how the economics work, right? And we're staying on contracts too because Elias Pettersson needs a new deal in Vancouver. And again, the European media tour swung through, and he even said, it's like, look, I'm just focused on playing hockey. I'm going to see what happens at the end of the season. He's in no rush to sign a deal either. And that's a smart approach to take for a guy who had a great season, great bounce back year, back to the player he was when he won the Calder Trophy and came into the league. Vancouver's got a lot of decisions to make. And I think I said it with John Tavares in Toronto. I'll say it with JT Miller when he was signed too. I don't think they should have re-signed him. I think they should have traded him when his value was at the highest.
Yeah, and he was really sought after. And just because I'm a Leafs fan listening to the Leafs media, I mean, it sounds like the Leafs wanted a guy like JT Miller. And Pettersson, doesn't he fall right in line with like the other, like Naslund and the Sedins? I mean, he's very quiet. He
Yeah.
just seems like he would be the perfect captain of that team. The perfect just he's at 7, I think now. Is it 7.5 AAV
Yeah.
maybe?
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, where's he headed? He had 102 points last year. He's kind of like a Nylander year. He had 39 goals or something. Gosh, where's he going? Is he going 10?
I would think so. I think
Yeah,
he goes 10.
yeah. And then I
I would
think Vancouver's gonna have to pay it.
I think he's going 10. Like he's at 7-3 now. He's at RFA at the end of the season. Or yeah, at the end of the season going into next year. JT Miller's at 8. Brock Besser's at 6. Kuzmenko's at 5.5. Connor Garland's at 4.9. Like they're gonna have to pay some of these guys. Like he's gonna be the highest paid player on the team.
And I think they got to make him captain of the team as well. I don't know. There's something about a Swede in Vancouver. It just he seems to be perfect.
They're gonna have
To
to move some money too, because I know that they wanna. I know they want to move Garland. I think and just get that money off the books. Maybe one of their defensemen. But again, how good is that team? How good is Thatcher Demko? We're gonna find out because this team is, yeah,
love love
it's
the
rough a
coach.
little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad. I like the coach they brought in. I'm a
So do
fan.
I, but there's so many question marks. Like, can this team continue to like improve under Rick Tocchet, or is it the same old injuries? Like that's a tough division if you look at it. Like we know Vegas, Edmonton, LA, all right, Calgary, Seattle. Like Vancouver, good enough to sneak by any of those teams?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what a big, what a group you just mentioned there to have to be in the division with. What a difference from the East. How big those teams are.
I
Tough.
mean, tough, physical, good
Yeah.
defense, good goaltending. I look to me. I think it's going to be tough because if Seattle's still good, Joey Decord's going to be good. Flames are definitely going to have a bounce back year. I mean, they were right there last year. If things go their way, Winnipeg Jets have the biggest collapse probably we've ever seen, not to make the playoffs. But think about it. Like Vancouver's got a lot of questions. They should have been answering what they were doing like Jim Rutherford, I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't know what he was doing in Vancouver because I'm not sure I would have re-signed JT Miller. Not at that height. When teams are calling for this guy constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone wanted him. Big guy, the whole deal. I mean, he's perfect for teams that, your second
Great,
line
great.
center.
He had a great season in a
Yeah.
contract year. The value was there to help your
And,
team improve.
yeah, no doubt. And it's just, I don't know why. I thought for sure he was gone. I didn't believe he'd be he would have stayed, but
And
big
now
mistakes.
Pedersen could be the guy that walks because they
Oh,
may not, yeah, which would be awful.
a huge mistake. He's their guy. He is the perfect Canuck. I'm
He
Marcus
is.
Naslund. That's all I think of with him.
Naslund, those guys, man, those are the guys that were there for the Canucks. I think he ends up staying. I think the number's 10 if they get it done. Like that's the deal, 8 times 10 or something like that. Like they'll get it done. They'll
Throw the C on him too.
throw the C on them, and that's it. Again, but once I think if Pedersen signs long term, I think he's named captain, and then they go from there.
Yeah,
that's what I believe. Down the road a little bit, couple of provinces are over. Edmonton takes care of Evan Bouchard, 2 years, $3.9 million. That's a solid deal for him. 2-year bridge deal. To me, I want to get your thoughts on it, but for me, I think it's wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, when the cap goes up next summer, when you're eligible at July 1st, hey, we'll give you your $7 million.
Yeah, because I think it was a beautiful deal for them. I mean, what's he? I don't know what he's had. A couple 50-point seasons.
Back-to-back 40 seasons. And he's really been good on the power play for Edmonton.
He's good. He's really good. And if he were to be, let's say, out there, how much is he going to make? What would a team give him 6 right now? Who knows what they would do?
I mean, I would think somebody, if he was offer sheeted, I think somebody would have given him 6.
And so this is good. He did a good job for them and for himself and for the team. I mean, he could have, again, you could hold people hostage if you want. And
I mean, it was very
well,
surprising it took this long. But again, the Edmonton Oilers, like a lot of teams, are up against the salary cap. What's been the big theme I've had all summer?
yeah, the Cap wins it all. Yeah.
Cap wins every time.
Yep.
Cap's the
Yep.
biggest winner.
Yeah, and it was, and it is right now again. And Edmonton and like in Toronto's boat, I mean, we're getting to the point where they can score as much as they want. McDavid's the greatest in the world, but they got to win. And so
And they got to play better defense, and they got to trust their goaltender. And are they trusting Jack Campbell this year?
that's the question again.
Because
And I
they
hope
better. Because they better. Because
yeah,
look, I'm not gonna look. I've talked with a lot of guys who watched that series. I talked with guys in LA in round one about Jack Campbell coming in game 4. He's like, Jack Campbell single-handedly saved their season,
yeah,
the Oilers season. They were and guys in Vegas too, were utterly surprised when he did not play in game 5 or 6 to
me
start.
too. Yeah, me too. We were too. I remember.
We were too. We were talking about it, man.
Yeah.
I was like, how is this not possible? Like,
And it's
they
weird.
need to trust this guy. And if they didn't, then why did you sign him to a 5-year deal worth $5 million?
Strange, yeah. And then he just looked back at his Toronto days. He was great in the playoffs for them. He never was the issue. He kept them in games left and right. So I don't. They just gotta go with. Yeah, just gotta
They
go
got
with
to
him.
play better defense in front of him. Look, Bouchard's going to help. You got Ekholm was huge for them.
Yeah,
And
he's good.
Bouchard's taken off ever since Barry left because Tyson Barry, to be honest, he was good, but Evan Bouchard just didn't see the power play, and that's where his points were, and that's where his point production went up. Look, the Oilers power play was the best in the business last year. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it again. I mean, with those guys, of course they are, but they're going to need secondary scoring come the playoffs, and they're going to need to play better defensively because you know who you need to stop come the playoffs, and Vegas did it perfectly.
Yeah, and Nurse and Cody Ceci or whatever, they're tough. They are really,
I'm not a fan. Look, I like Darnell Nurse. I think he's a great guy. I met the kid at the draft. I know his uncle. I don't know his uncle personally, but I met his uncle. Nurse is a great kid. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. Just think the contract and the expectations for the player is just not there. He just gets beat constantly. Like, you can beat him to the left side constantly. You can turn him around quickly. He was just getting exposed so badly in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was. It's tough, man. You're right, and sometimes it isn't fair because he didn't. The contract is what it is. So
right, good for him, good for the player. Yeah. The player got paid, great, but everybody's going to point to it.
Yeah, and there it is, man. I mean, Edmonton. I've said this before, and it's because the Leafs are the Leafs. And obviously, the Leafs only won one series, but in the end of the day, no one's winning between the two of them.
No.
So,
Edmonton's think about it. The guy, the three guys, who were the three guys everybody talked about? Eichel, Matthews, and McDavid, right? Eichel's got his cup.
Yeah, I know. And Eichel played well.
And Eichel played well. Eichel played unbelievably well. Again, different topic for a different day, but I still don't understand how Vegas isn't the favorite to repeat.
Yeah, they are. To me, they are.
To me, they absolutely are. Another couple other contracts to go over. Brandon Hagel, 8-year, $6.5 million deal in Tampa. Man, Julien Brisebois just handing out 8-year deals like they're going out of style in Tampa. They're restocking for a run because next year, if that cap goes up and they have some money, maybe they could put one more run together and add back to that depth that they've been missing for a long time, and they better get defensively better in front of Vasilevsky, because I'm telling you right now, Ryan McDonough not being there hurts this team.
Yeah, and I Hagel, my gosh, I like him. That's an incredible deal for him and good for him. Obviously, very good for him. And I got to imagine Tampa must sit there and be always it's the Cap winning again. They can never keep their bottom, half. You see them; they're all over the place, and including Palat, they couldn't keep.
Couldn't keep Palat, couldn't keep Killorn, couldn't keep Johnson. The triplets that were drafted to remember, Steve Yzerman drafted Kucherov, Johnson, Palat, like all these guys. Like, he drafted and developed. Julien Brisebois took this team over the edge, but it was Steve Yzerman's team, and they haven't restocked that cupboard for the next group. And I understand Breezewell is like, well, we're in win now mode. Yes, but at a point where when Tampa went to the conference final in 2011, had some up and downs, when they started their little thing together in 2014 and 15, who was playing? It was Kucherov, it was Palat, it was Johnson, it was all these guys coming up together. You need to restock that cupboard because you're giving away draft picks for guys like Tanner Jeannot. And look, Tanner Jeannot is a great player, but like, dude, you're giving away multiple first round picks for this player when you could be using them to restock your cupboard and be like Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh was drafting guys in the first round who were ready just to come in and play with Crosby and all of them get them guys, and they continued.
Yeah. I mean, I just think of all Yanni Gord. You think of all the guys that they've
Coleman,
lost.
that third line.
Yeah.
Gord, Coleman, and Goudreau.
Yeah, gone. All gone.
McDonough, gone.
Gone. They're all gone. Everything. And so I get the Hagel thing. I mean,
good for Hagel. Good for Hagel. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's really good in the playoffs. I was really impressed. Against the league, he was tough. He did everything you want to win. So yeah, I mean, good for him. It was a good deal. I mean, good for him, right? 8 years, it's too much, but I get it. I get why, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, look, they keep the guys, the top 6 player for them. Look, he had a better regular season than when he was traded there because he just didn't understand what his role was. Remember when he came from Chicago, he was playing like top 6 minutes. Then they wanted to, and then he comes to Tampa, they put him in like a third line role. Really, he really didn't gel. But then last year, he really got it together again and became the Brandon Hagel that we know. So it's good. I mean, look, if the cap goes up, this team is going to be rested. If the cap goes up next summer, they can sign some free agents and take a run at this thing one more time. Because to me, I think the end of an era is here for this modern day Tampa Bay Lightning dynasty. Everybody wants to use the word, oh, well, they didn't win 3 in a row. It's not a dynasty. Dude, it's a dynasty for what the modern NHL is, the salary cap era, what they've done since 2015. Remarkable.
And Stamkos is up at 8. He's at 8. I wonder what happens there for him. Does he take a cut or does he not? He's at 8.5. He deserves 10.
He deserves 10.
Give him 10 for 3 years. I don't know. Do you take care of him like that? I'm curious. That's interesting.
It's going to be interesting. He'll probably get like an OV deal or something.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I'll tell you that. What a good player. What a man. Watching what he did to Matthews in that situation, yeah, it was dirty, and I was kind of pissed when I'm watching it, but it was necessary. Like it was actually part of it that had to happen. And yeah, you win with him.
You do win with him. You definitely win with him. You win with guys like that, Kucherov, all those guys. But Tampa's got some questions to see how they can restock. They'll be aggressive at the deadline again, especially if they're in it. Breezewell just is like, yeah, those guys aren't going to help us now, but they're going to need to be. But they're going to have to help you down in the future when guys like Kucherov and Stamkos aren't there no more. And the points aren't there no more. Like guys you drafted and developed for this thing to keep going. So we're going to see. Speaking of a guy drafted, developed, didn't have the development as people would think they would be Alexis Lafreniere. Just 2-year deal for him. Again, right on the money when it comes to everything. And I love it. Like the guy I work with, we were down in Nashville. This is what we heard.
2.3, right?
Yeah, 2.3. Right? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, God, first overall pick. What a tough. I don't even know what to say. You probably know more about him. Like, what is it? What is wrong? Like, what is it what didn't translate?
Well, what didn't translate is the fact the kid lost a year because of COVID. I mean, if you look at the first 2 picks in that draft, Quentin Byfield and Alexis Lafreniere lost a year of development. Tim Stützle was the 3rd overall pick. Where did he play? He played in Germany.
Right.
Like, I mean, look.
That makes sense, yeah.
Look, he's also not been put in this situation, but when he has been, he's thrived. Because last year, like before they made all those changes to bring in the Tarasenko's, to bring in the Kane, Hito and Lafreniere and Kakko were playing on power play time. They were playing second line minutes. If you want to keep that group together, fine, but they have to be your second line. They can't be your third line anymore. You have to move the Kreiders down. You have to move the Trocheks down. And I know it's a bad look for what Trochek's getting paid to be on a 7-year deal. But guess what? That happens. But I know, they're stuck at the left side. But you know what? Give him a shot with some of these big guys because he can protect the puck well. Same with Kakko. He's been using his body. He's developed that physical side. Something, again, is it not on a power play? Is it not opportunities? Sometimes you have to take those opportunities, as we saw with Wyatt Johnson in Dallas. But I think Chris Drury, the problem is Chris Drury's going down the same road as Glenn Sather did. Remember, Jeff Gordon was there. They put out the letter. They said we're progressing. It's going to be a slow rebuild. Yes, you add Panarin. But the expectations shouldn't have shot up so much when they were put into that COVID bubble. Right. And then the next year they fall short. Well, the Rangers weren't a playoff team if COVID doesn't happen.
Right. And I didn't even think of COVID. I mean, he's a young man still, right? What's he, 24? Yeah. I don't even know what he could
Not even that. He's like 22.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is so much to – what's one thing that I don't think he'd call – it's not time to say he's a bust, right?
No.
I mean, not yet. Not yet at all. And probably COVID, that's a smart – I didn't even think of COVID. I mean, I guess that gives you a little bit of a pass because and you're right, they're not putting him in the right spots. I hope he does well. I mean, it's got to be tough being the first overall pick and having to struggle playing fourth line minutes and all that.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing on the fourth line, and you wonder why. Oh, well, he's not developed. Well, why is he playing on the fourth line?
Right.
Again, the biggest thing I've said, the biggest example I could see was Nito Niederreiter, right? This guy's turned into a good NHL player, a very good NHL. I'm not going to say he's great. I'm not going to put him in that other. He's a serviceable, good NHL player once he left Long Island.
Right. Yeah. No, the Farnier might just be the guy. I mean, it would be a great deal. Look at that, 2.3 AAV for a guy like that, first overall pick. I don't know. What do you think the ceiling? Where would he be? You think he's 30 goals? You think he could do that in the league?
I got to see him score 20 first.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you look at this draft real quick, right? Lafreniere, Byfield. Okay, Stützle's having it. Lucas Raymond's coming into his own, but he had time over in Sweden. Sanderson's going to be a star, but he went to college. Jamie Drysdale, going to be a good player, but he played junior. Holtz, we don't know what he is yet. Yes, he played overseas. He's done great in the minors. We really haven't seen it on the big level yet. We've seen flashes. Jack Quinn, look, kid's going to be a star in Buffalo. But again, developed, right? He developed. Yep. Marco Rossi, we don't know because we really haven't seen him. Like, he had the COVID issues. He's like, we really don't know what he is. Perfetti, we've seen in Winnipeg. He's good. Askarov, I don't know what he's going to be. Right. Lundell's become a great piece for Florida.
Definitely.
Obviously, Seth Jarvis, we know what that cat's going to be in Carolina, man.
Please. It was the Leafs pick.
I mean, like, look, Dylan Holloway, we don't know. I mean, yeah, he was with Edmonton, but we don't know yet. Caden Gooley in Montreal, Reichel in Chicago. Do we know what he is yet? We know what Dawson Mercer is, but again, developed, went through the system, did all that. Braden Schneider, same. Mahula. Like, if you go through this draft, there's a lot of guys that needed time, and they lost time.
They did. They lost time. COVID was a mess. COVID did damage to, obviously, the cap and to those young guys. Absolutely. Good point, man. I wasn't even thinking of it. It feels like COVID's been so long ago, but it really hasn't been.
It hasn't been, but again, certain guys were able to get their work in. Other guys didn't. But it's still no excuse, but the kid lost some development years. And, again, the Rangers have to decide what they are because they got older. They got slower. They were one of the youngest teams in the league. Now they're one of the oldest teams in the league. I don't understand the quick signing. Blake Wheeler, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
He is what he is. But every Ranger fan, if Shesterkin gets hurt, the season's over anyway. Well, yeah, but you still need a backup goaltender.
Right.
And Jonathan Quick is not that good anymore.
No, he's
He had
not
the
the guy.
the one season he had in LA. He turned back the clock. He went in the DeLorean and turned the
Right.
clock back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
did.
He did.
Last year, no good.
No good,
Yes, he
man.
was good in Vegas. The defense in front of him. Defense in front of New York is not as good as the defense in Vegas. I hate to
I'll
say it.
and I'll tell you what, man. These guys, we always think of them, and as kids. But when you sit back and think about, you just said at the end of the contract, Matthews is going to be in there for 12 years. Next thing you turn around, they're no longer, they're
30. Like
veterans.
Sid's 37, 36. Like where'd the time go? Kid was
Yeah.
18 when he came into the league.
And you've won nothing. So now as a team, you gotta make the hard decisions, as we know, is tough.
Well, you know, Kyle Dubas didn't make tough decisions.
No.
He didn't. He didn't. No, he just didn't do it. And hey, I was thinking about this, like when Keefe signed this, and I think this is a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, the first thing that came into my mind was the situation with Kyle Dubas and how Keefe was like, you know, maybe this is job security now, good money, job security. I'm not a lame duck. And I think that's something that maybe you get distractions out of the way, right? Because I know both guys say it wasn't going to be a distraction. But it was going to be a major storyline. Like if Matthews wasn't signed, if Keefe wasn't extended, you have a lame duck coach and a guy entering the last year of his contract, probably the biggest star in Maple Leafs history. Those are storylines.
Yeah. And as a head coach, you know, and you're in a different position than Matthew, you know, guys making $13 million. I'd assume it's got to be on your head. It has to be. Right. You don't know where you're going to be. Right. These guys, you have wives, kids, whatever. You don't know where you're going to be. So that would have been a huge distraction for him himself. It had to be. There'd be no way he could say all the right words, but it had to just not. And I don't even know so much like for a Nylander or Matthews. The head coach, it's got to be tough because they're just not pulling in that
it was like Dubas last year. He's a lame duck. He's just sitting there.
Yeah, and I think it pissed him off, and we see what happened. We see
what he did. And maybe Toronto, maybe maybe Brendan Shanahan and Brad Treliving had a talk and said, hey, maybe we can't have a situation where we had last year where we let this guy go all the way, and then all of a sudden we have this mess again.
Absolutely. You can't have it. No, you're right. And then they did that. That was good. I was happy to see it. He couldn't do it because he'd have dangled, and you can't dangle people. They are human. I mean, especially the coach.
They are, but Keefe's been linked to other jobs now. How true they are, I don't know. Yeah. But I think people would want Sheldon Keefe on other teams. I think he would be good. I mean, look what Arizona's doing. Arizona's doing what Buffalo's doing right now.
Yeah.
You keep a guy the players who's been developing players, Donnie Granato in Buffalo, right? They could have changed coaches again, but it's not going to do them any good. They've kept Donnie Granato around there because he's getting guys like Casey Middlestat, Jack Quinn, guys like that, and you got that offense there. The only question is, all right, goaltending, Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen, Devin Levi, we'll see. But over in Arizona, Andre Tournier is there. I know the situation with the arena sucks, but you know what? That team's going to be good in a couple of years because they got a lot of good young talent.
And it should be just in time to open up a new one.
Right. It should be. It should be. They should be. But again, you got a guy like Andre Tournier there. Yeah. Guys want to play for him. You know what he did on the international level with Canada. He gets his team playing. I know the record's not always the greatest, but damn, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, and they're ready to. I just want to see that happen in Arizona because I think it'll be. Hockey can work there.
I want the glory years back of Arizona Coyotes hockey. I know there hasn't been many. I know it was the Winnipeg Jets that came down there, 96, 97, 97, 98, like the late 90s. But, man, those teams were good.
They were. They were very good. And they run into Detroit or whatever their problem would be. But, yeah, they were very good.
They were a very good team, and they were very fun to watch.
Yep.
Their building was not the greatest. And I know ownership issues along the way and players, all this, but it can work as much as I can say it can't work. If you do things right, it can work.
Oh, it can. I know. I definitely think it can out there. It's perfect. To me, you obviously have Matthew Knies. You have all different guys. Obviously Matthews. You have people coming out of Arizona, which is insane. Yeah. So there's an interest. You just, gotta put the arena in the right spot. I think they're talking about Mesa now or something.
We're gonna see what happens. Hopefully the Coyotes stay there, but it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Real quick, I have the title out. It's called the Gretzky Cup. That's something you might be interested. You guys know my takes on in-season tournament. David Alter made a good point. If it's called the Gretzky Cup, you watching?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm angry at it.
Well, yeah, but it would be cool to see Wayne Gretzky present it.
Yeah, that'd be yes and no. Yeah. Okay.
Yes and no. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, if you can do it right and you go to a market, say the semifinals and finals are in Quebec City.
Yeah, and what the hell?
But the thing that I took away from it is that they make meaningless games meaningful, like in November and December, because the season just drags on.
Can you imagine? But I can't imagine they can rev it up and play playoff style hockey then.
No, I don't think it would be playoff style hockey, but it would be the game against like Columbus and on a random Tuesday and in December would matter. Like but again, I will say this. I was told you're going to see playing hockey for the playoffs is more likely than this thing.
Okay, that I could see. That is good by me. I'm okay with that. That sounds good. This thing, I don't want the Leafs anywhere near it. Winning that cup would be the biggest mockery. I mean,
how about teams out of? How about do it for teams out of playoff contention by Thanksgiving?
That would be fine by me, I guess. That would be kind of interesting.
Make their season matter or something.
That would be interesting. I could see that. Okay, that'd be kind of cool.
All right. Again, just throwing ideas out here, guys. Again, this is how we wrap things up here in this off season. There's not a lot going on. Hopefully, the World Cup of Hockey comes back, and it's got to be best on best. It can't be this Team North America, Team Europe crap. And I think the NHL has finally admitted that that's what it needs to be. As much as fun it was to see McKinnon and McDavid and Matthews and all those guys play together, we know who they need to play for. But again, I will say this. When they didn't go to the Olympics, those last couple of years, I knew why. TV, COVID, all that stuff. It's in Italy. TV's good. They've been there before. You know the players are going in 2026. World Cup of Hockey is a little tougher just because of the whole political climate we live in now with Russia, because I've talked to a lot of players and they want the best players playing. They don't want a tournament to happen without the Russian players.
Yeah, you can't. Right, I agree. I don't want to watch it without them.
Right, exactly. If we watch the World Juniors, it's different, but you're still missing the best players from a great hockey nation.
Yeah, it's got and I do it's just different.
It's different. Right. It's different because let me tell you something. You and I will both remember times when the group was one year. I remember the group was Canada, United States, and Russia. Like, think about that.
Yeah, great. It was great time. That's great.
Or Russia was on the other side, and you're like, dude, you can't finish like second. You don't want to play the Russians in the crossover quarterfinals. Like, you want no part of that.
They got to come back. I don't want to get.
We'll see. We're not going to get into the political side of this stuff, but I will say that's a big reason why we may not see international hockey in 2025. But I can put it on right now. This date, the players, the NHL will go back to the Olympics in 2026.
That's good. I'll be happy for that. That'll be great. And I hope the Russian teams can play in the Olympics. They got to make sure that works.
Right, exactly. But the NHL players will be going in 2026. But guys, dude, we have so much exciting stuff coming when the calendar flips to September, flip a new season. We're going to bring predictions in. We're going to preview divisions, division by division. We're going to go through them, all the teams, whatever. We're going to have fun here. Let's talk puck, spitball, and sports, everything here. It's just John and I have so much fun doing this, and I'm glad we were able to connect one final time to talk off-season hockey. Because guess what? Training camp, September 20th. Tournaments, little guys, the rookie tournaments are coming up. Things are popping.
Yeah.
and we're getting a hockey season going again.
Love it. Got the jersey on, man. It feels like hockey outside.
Feels like hockey. It's good. I can't wait, guys. It's been Let's Talk Pucks, collaboration with Spitball and Sports, the podcast. You guys check it out, along with Final Word on Hockey. Get it. I will have the audio up, iTunes, Spotify, where you get your podcast. John, thank you again for doing this today. Guys, have a great day. Enjoy the hockey season that is coming up soon.
Thank you.